The Israelites were God's people, but a mean group of people always picked on them. They were called the Philistines. The Philistines and the Israelites were at war. Both armies faced each other on the battlefield. They were ready to fight. Out from the Philistine ranks, a giant emerged. His name was Goliath, and he was huge and scary. Goliath shouted a challenge. He said, "Send out your best soldier to fight me. If he wins, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." The Israelites were terrified. No one dared face Goliath. He was too big, he was too strong. For 40 days and nights, Goliath repeated his challenge. The Israelites trembled in fear. What would they do? Far away from the battle, a young shepherd named David looked after his sheep. David was small, but he was brave and strong. He trusted God to protect him from wild animals. David had faith. He believed God would always help him. One day, David's father said, "David, your brothers are fighting the Philistines. Take this food to them and see how they are doing." David obeyed his father and went to the battlefield. He was shocked by what he saw. Everyone was afraid of a giant. David's brothers were scared too, but David wasn't. He said, "This giant is defying the living God. I will fight him." David knew God was bigger and stronger than any giant. He had faith. David's words reached the Israelite king Saul. Saul summoned David. Saul was a big man, but even he was afraid of Goliath. Saul said, "You are just a boy. You can't fight this giant." David answered, "The Lord saved me from lions and bears when I was protecting my sheep. The Lord will save me from this giant too." David's courage impressed Saul. Saul offered David his armor, a sword and a shield, but David wasn't used to them. He took them off. He would face Goliath with what he knew best, his shepherd's staff, his sling, and his faith in God. Section 4, 5 smooth stones and a sling. David walked towards Goliath, who laughed at the sight of the young shepherd. "Am I a dog that you come at me with a stick?" Goliath roared. "You come against me with sword and spear," David shouted back, "but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." David put a stone in his sling and swung it with all his might. The stone flew through the air and struck Goliath right between the eyes. The giant fell with a crash, shaking the ground. David had won. The Philistines, seeing their champion fall, turned and ran. Section 5, Victory and Faith Rewarded. The Israelites were overjoyed. They chased after the fleeing Philistines and won a great victory. David, the young shepherd, had saved the day. He had faced a giant and won with God's help. David's faith was rewarded. He showed that even when things are scary, trusting in God can make us brave. He taught us that courage isn't about being the strongest, but about having the biggest faith. Section 6, Timeless Courage. The story of David and Goliath is thousands of years old, but it still speaks to us today. We all face giants in our lives, sickness, fear, challenges that seem too big to overcome. But just like David, we can face our giants with courage and faith. Remember, it's not our size that matters, but the size of our faith in God. When we trust in Him, even the biggest giants can be defeated. So face your giants with courage and faith, and watch God work in your life.